You see that? Those are, or were, the Apple AR glasses, Apple's most ambitious project since the original iPhone launched in 2007. And there are some reports that Apple has actually cancelled the AR glasses, and here's everything you need to know about that, alongside all the updates since our last video on the Apple AR glasses back in June. So get those snacks ready, all those drinks, and here's everything you need to know about the Apple AR glasses, a device that can truly revolutionize the world of tech once again. Okay, so back in June 2019, we did a 20-minute video in which I talked about every single detail and everything we knew up until that point regarding Apple's upcoming AR glasses. Now, in case you haven't seen that video, please do watch that video first, since this video is basically a continuation, a follow-up to that. But essentially, the world doesn't get to see a truly innovative device that often. You know, the first phone, credited at least to Alexander Graham Bell, changed the world as we knew it. And the iPhone did the same in 2007, and even more so in 2008 when Apple launched the App Store that allowed developers to use the sensors inside the iPhone to allow it to do almost anything you could think of. You know, that's when the smartphone and mobile app boom actually happened. But you see, smartphones have become quite boring in the last few years. And that's because the technology has reached to a point where it cannot really go any further. Smartphones are our window into our social lives today. They allow us to pretty much connect with anyone in the world at any point in time. But that's it. Yes, they do have advanced cameras so you can take, really good photos. You can game on the phones as well, but the main focus, the main use case scenario for smartphones today is when it comes to, reaching and getting in touch with people. Yes, they will be getting thinner and thinner, the bezels will be shrunken down in the upcoming years, but the main idea of a smartphone will remain the same. Reason why we became so bored of it, because we want something new. And Apple has actually created a few new categories of devices that have indeed changed the world even after the iPhone came out. The iPad revolutionized the tablet industry, the Apple Watch became the world's most popular wearable and influenced thousands of other tech companies to create their own smartwatches and fitness trackers. And then the AirPods revolutionized the wireless headphone industry, where now we have a lot of true wireless headphones from tens of thousands of Chinese manufacturers at some really low prices. But you see, all of these products were not the first of their generation. The iPhone was not the first smartphone, the iPad was not the first tablet, and the Apple Watch and the AirPods were not the first smartwatch or the first truly wireless headphones. But what they were was an improved version of a technology that has yet to be perfected. And this is exactly what the Apple AR glasses will be as well. AR, or augmented reality, is a very different thing from VR, or virtual reality. Virtual reality headsets like the Oculus Rift, the HTC Vive, or even the Oculus Quest, they transport you into a fully virtual world. They allow you to be in a video game, which is pretty much what they were made for in the first place. Entertainment. This is the purpose of VR headsets. AR, or augmented reality, doesn't take you to any other place. You're still here in the real world, but your reality is augmented, meaning that it's improved. AR means that you can see the weather or an email just floating here in the air, or you can measure the distance between certain components of a machine or a car, or you can have pretty much any elements that you would normally have on your computer monitor in your real world. How cool is that? And this, in my opinion, is something that will truly change our lives forever. Productivity-wise, I believe that this is the best thing that ever happened since the introduction of the personal computer. Now, there aren't that many companies that have been involved in AR that much. VR has mostly been the main focus since it's far more profitable, but Google has tried it before with the Google Glass, and it just wasn't good enough, and they stopped working on it altogether for quite some time. Now, Google actually came back recently, and they re-released it under the Google Glass Enterprise Edition 2 name, and you guessed it, it's focused just at companies that manufacture things such as cars, tools, and similar things. Microsoft has also tried it with their HoloLens, but same as with Google, Microsoft is only focusing at companies rather than individuals. So at the moment, we don't really have any big tech companies working at AR headsets for regular consumers, other than Apple. And we first seen Apple interested in AR back in 2017 when they launched ARKit with iOS 11, and this was basically a framework that allowed developers to easily create AR apps for the iPhone and the iPad that fully made use of all of their sensors. So we started seeing apps such as the IKEA Place app, which allows you to place furniture from their store into your actual home and see exactly how it will look like. So measurements and sizes were all accurate, so this was already an extremely useful thing to have. ARKit was already extremely advanced from the very start, with features such as real-time shadows and real-time reflections on objects, and that was amazing. But then in 2018, Apple released ARKit 2.0, which allowed for multiple users to interact in the same AR app, so basically AR multiplayer. And then with ARKit 3.0, which actually launches this year with iOS 13, we would be getting full motion tracking for people and also detection of obstacles and people in the scene. So that, for example, if you have an AR plane that's just, flying around, it would actually circle around the real person rather than going through that person. So yeah, this is nuts. This is incredible. I cannot believe that Apple has managed to pull this off with ARKit 3 already. And Tim Cook has even said in quite a number of interviews that Apple is very interested in AR. So when the news came out that Apple's working on a revolutionary AR headset, it wasn't that much of a surprise to anyone. And Loop Ventures analyst Gene Munster reported in 2018, based on some information that he had from inside sources, that Apple was indeed planning on releasing the glasses by 2020, but instead they've actually pushed them back to December 2021 since the technology just wasn't there yet. But then Ming-Chi Kuo, one of the most reliable sources when it comes to Apple leaks, did report back in March 2019, so pretty recent, that Apple was planning to start production of their AR glasses by the end of this year in 2019, with a full release by the end of 2020. So from the looks of it, Apple has actually made some progress and they managed to plan at least a release for the glasses in 2020. But then a new report from this month, July 2019, made by Digitimes Taiwan, and they've actually had some overall good track record in the past. They claim that Apple has actually discontinued the development of the AR/VR headsets and even disbanded the AR glasses team in May and actually transferred the team working on that to different projects. Wow. Come on, Apple. I really don't know what to say. This is so bad. In case you've watched our previous video on why Johnny Ive has actually left Apple, in that video I talked about how Johnny was extremely frustrated with the fact that Apple was reusing old designs and they lacked any product vision or focus that they clearly had during Steve Jobs' era. And the main reason for this being that Tim Cook was not a product person. Even Steve Jobs said this himself. Tim Cook was the person that Apple needed in order to keep them afloat after Steve Jobs. And he actually did that really well. But what Tim didn't do was being able to come up with completely new and innovative product ideas. Instead, what Apple did was reusing old designs. They made some really small updates to their product lineup, and they've also amassed hundreds of billions of dollars, which they don't really seem to be doing anything with. And in that video, at the very end of it, I did say that the only excuse that Apple has for doing something like this is that they're actually focusing on two very big projects: the Apple Car and the Apple AR glasses. And we both know how the Apple Car project is going, or not going to be more precise. There have actually been many reports that Apple has actually canned it, and a report from February this year confirms that Apple has laid off over 190 people working on their car projects. Many others have left and moved to Tesla since because of undisclosed reasons. So things are definitely not looking good for the self-driving car project, even though that is still in development. And the news that Apple may have cancelled their second big project that they were working on, the AR glasses, is so disappointing. Like, this was the last hope that Apple had at truly revolutionizing the tech industry again, just like they've done with the iPhone. And canceling it shows me that Apple does indeed lack vision and interest in doing anything other than what they're already doing now. Here's what I mean by this. SpaceX, you all know SpaceX. SpaceX is worth $33.3 billion. Now, Apple was valued at over $1 trillion. Yes, over 30 times more valuable than SpaceX is. You know, SpaceX develops autonomous rockets that fly themselves and land themselves, and they want to send humans to Mars, and they also want to terraform Mars. Apple, on the other hand, right, a company that's worth 30 times more, they just want to make smartphones, and they cannot even update the design every year. Imagine if Elon Musk had access to the funds that Tim Cook has access to. That would be insane in a really good way. So do you see where I'm coming from? This is why I was hoping on Apple doing a great job with the AR headset. Okay, but if the AR glasses project has been cancelled, why was that? Well, Digitimes' report claims that Apple has cancelled it for now, since at the moment it is impossible for them to make the AR headset that they want to make and also sell it at the price point that they want to sell it at. So in case you don't know, the rumored price point for the Apple AR glasses was $1,300, which was already a very high price point to start with. Judging by this report, in order for Apple to achieve everything that they want with the AR headset, they would need to increase the price considerably, which would result in a low number of sales, and of course that Apple does not want that. Now here's the thing, Apple is one of the richest tech companies in the world, so they could easily pull off a Sony PS5 on this. In case you don't know, Sony actually plans on selling the PS5 at a loss in order to give customers a better product, and they will be making the revenue just from games, so digital downloads, at least in the first few years, until component prices for the PS5 decrease in cost, and then they can actually make profits from the manufacturing and sales. I did cover this in a bit more detail in our last PS5 video, so do make sure you watch that if you want to learn more about the PS5. And Apple could easily do such a thing. They could sell the glasses at a loss of even a few $1,000s. Apple could easily afford such a thing, and then they could make that revenue back from app sales. Realistically, the AR glasses will need to have its own app store, and then Apple could even develop their first-party apps, AR apps, and sell them at a premium, just like they do currently on the Mac with Final Cut Pro 10 or Logic Pro 10 and more. So these are ways of, Apple making revenue even if they're selling the glasses at a loss. So personally, I believe that this is the best approach for Apple. Also, the more units that Apple sells, the cheaper the manufacturing cost will get. So there is a very high chance that if they do this, in 1 or 2 years, they could manage to reduce the manufacturing cost substantially so that they're selling these at a profit. This is just my take on how I would approach this if I had any control over Apple's upcoming products, which I unfortunately do not. I wish I did though, because I would change and redo pretty much their entire lineup. But going back to the AR glasses, the reason why this is so difficult to do is because Apple's ambition for this is huge. So according to a huge report made by CNET in 2018, and this is actually the best inside look at the Apple AR glasses, Apple is planning on using an 8K display for each eye. And that's insane, that's incredible. So current VR headsets, for example, they use a Quad HD display around a Quad HD for each eye. Apple would be using 4 times the resolution of that per eye. And apparently Apple has actually experimented with multiple ways of driving that display and the graphics. They tried doing it on board the glasses with an Apple A14 processor, and then they also tried doing it remotely by running everything off of an iPhone and then sending everything, the data, across wirelessly to the glasses via 60 GHz 802.11ay Wi-Fi network. By the way, if you want to add some amazing motion track text and effects to your videos like we have, check out motionVFX using the link below. Now, the first method caused some overheating issues on the glasses, and the second isn't fully possible as of yet since 802.11ay isn't finalized. And apparently these are the reasons why Apple has decided to cancel the AR glasses, at least for now. Also, according to Digitimes reports, the optical design of the lenses is not here either, as Apple could only get about 80 degrees of view rather than around 135 degrees, which is what our eyes can horizontally see. And it seems like all of these frustrations were too much for Apple's AR glasses lead, Avi Bar-Zeev, who was actually one of the inventors of Microsoft's HoloLens, and he left Microsoft to join Apple in 2016, but it is now confirmed that he actually left Apple in February 2019 because of some frustrations that he had with how the development of Apple's AR glasses was going. But yeah, let me know in the comments what do you guys think about everything that I talked about in this video. Apple AR glasses, are you disappointed about the fact that they might have been cancelled, or is this something that you're still really looking forward to? And how big of a change do you think they would have in today's industry? Definitely subscribe to notifications if you want to see more interesting tech videos like this one, hopefully was. I'm Daniel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. ZONEofTECH, signing out. Cheers.